He walked into the park at dusk, the air tinged with the fragrance of late blossoms, feeling the weight of every regret he ever carried. His name was Rajiv, and he had always believed that the only thing he was good for was running, from mistakes, memories, even people. He ran because movement felt safer than stillness. But tonight he felt entirely still, anchored by silent grief. Just 3 months ago, he was engaged, set to marry the woman who had smiled at him like forgiveness in human form. She was Maya. The wedding decor was already arranged, sweets delivered, invitations sent. Everything except one thing: he hadn't forgiven himself for what happened 2 years ago, when a drunk driver took his sister's life instead of him. She had been the one behind the wheel. Guilty. That guilt had eaten him alive. He said yes to Maya, hoping she would distract him. Instead, she asked him to walk with her. He couldn't. So he ran. And when she gave up on chasing, he let her go, too. Now he sat on a green bench under an old oak tree, watching children kick a plastic ball under streetlights. Happiness looked easy to them and unreachable to him. He opened his palms and whispered to the dark, "If you could just erase me." Instead, a voice lightly said his name. He looked up. A woman stood there, petals caught in her hair, an accidental beauty born of autumn wind. "I know you," she said quietly. "From the cafe across the street. You come in late. You order the same drink. Always alone." She paused. "You come with pain in your eyes." He nodded. She sat at the far end of the bench. "I'm Lena," she said. And for the first time in weeks, he felt his chest soften. Lena ran a small flower shop, a green sanctuary amid gray buildings. Her sister had left to study abroad years ago and never returned, a wound that made her not trust silence, so she filled the air with kindness. She filled her shop with daisies, lilies, and hope. She filled broken hearts with dahlia bouquets and stories. Rajiv needed neither flowers nor stories. He just needed someone who didn't look away when he looked away. They talked until the benches grew cold, and the night felt full of words unsaid. She asked him why he ran so far from everything that reminded him of love. He hesitated. Then he spoke of guilt, of nights seeing his sister's car and nightmares, of how accepting love felt like drowning. She didn't argue. She reached into her purse and took out a single lily, white, fragile, trembling. She handed it to him and whispered, "Some grief blooms in night, but grief can still bloom." Weeks passed, and he found himself joining her nightly wanders in the park, shaded paths where she collected petals that fell silently. He started helping her arrange them into bouquets, additive therapy, she called it. His fingers learned softness again. One evening he told her his story, the reckless joy of youth, the accident, the guilt. He cried real tears into a pillow she wouldn't see. She held his hand through the whole confession. When he finished, she squeezed his fingers and nodded, as if she had always known. "You don't deserve punishment," she said gently. "You lost someone, but you are not your mistake." Slowly, he began to breathe again. He started waking up before dawn to run, not away, but toward forgiveness. He trained for a local half marathon, not to win, but to prove to his body and mind that he could endure softness and strength together. Lena cheered him during every kilometer. On her little shop porch, she waited with a bouquet shaped like a heart. On race day, he wasn't the fastest. But when he crossed the finish line, he looked at the medal and felt his breath fill with possibility. Lena hugged him. "You just ran your pain off your chest," she said. "Now carry the love that holds it." Days later, he proposed, not with a ring box, but with an envelope inside her flower shop, a card reading, "Will you walk with me?" No pace, just presence. She said yes with a tear and a smile that sparked something inside him bigger than grief. They lived together in a small apartment above the flower shop. Their turf was petal and pavement, opposites that somehow made sense. He started volunteering at the nearby hospital garden, teaching patients how planting seeds could heal roots twisted by grief. She taught children to make flower crowns and to speak even when words felt heavy. They became catalysts of gentle joy. One evening, an accident, another car, but this time she was struck crossing the road outside her shop. Rajiv found her bleeding, petals scattered like stars around her. She got up when she saw him, blood in her hair, petals in her hands. She whispered, "Don't stop." He demanded justice. He raged, but she calmed him. Forgiveness wasn't surrender. It was the final petal the flower gave. She survived. The next day, she came to work with a bandaged arm. She arranged lilies as usual. He stood behind her, polishing glass vases. Customers came to buy flowers from the woman who chose peace even while healing. 2 years later, they opened a community center called Lily and Marathon, where grief survivors were given seeds and running shoes, the option to heal through stillness or movement, petals or persistence. Rajiv spoke there often. His speeches weren't polished, but they were raw. People cried. People began again. One of his speeches, "I once thought forgiving myself would kill me. But saving someone else's life, that felt like redemption. To run wasn't to escape. It was to return. To my own self." They married under a canopy made of flower crowns and runner's bibs. Guests were encouraged to run a kilometer in their shoes before stepping into the ceremony, a symbolic journey of pain to promise. They had a daughter. They named her Sana, brilliance after sorrow. She chased pigeons near the same oak bench where Lena first spoke to Rajiv. He watched her, petals in hand, running open-hearted under dusk skies. He whispered, "We chose to live after grief. You choose to laugh." Years passed. Their centers grew. Flower gardens became reading gardens. Marathon tracks became circles of storytellers. Rajiv wrote a book titled Run with Loss, Flower in Hand, which became a bestseller in pain recovery circles. On their 20th anniversary, Rajiv gave Lena a lily sculpture made of scrap metal and paper petals. He said, "Our love was forged by grief, but it blooms every time someone chooses to heal." She placed the sculpture beside planted lilies, and they stood together in silence, petals falling all around, soft, hopeful, enduring.